Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Communication and Stakeholder Engagement Committee meeting on this day, Monday, February the 13th. I am the chair of the committee. My name is Shebra Evans. At this time, I want to introduce my colleagues, and I'll start with to my left.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Grace Rivera-Oven, and I represent District 1.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Julie Yang, District 3. Good to see everyone here today.
All right. And if we can go around the table, I just would like board staff to introduce themselves as well.
I am Ravel D. Fitzpatrick. Pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the ombudsperson, and I'm staffing this committee.
Victoria Van Dyke, board staff.
Thank you so much. They provide so much help and support to us. I just want to make sure we acknowledge them as well. At this time, before we get started, I would like to amend the agenda.
I will amend it. Item number 6, we move to be after item number 3.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second.
And all in favor by a show of hands? Yep.
Aye.
Okay, absolutely. So now we can begin our meeting. Are there any questions or feedback on the informational summary? Okay, seeing none, we can go to the next item, which is our discussion on the blueprint and our community schools. If we could have Ms. Backy and Ms. Beal come to the table. And Dr. Trimkamp, right. We just made the adjustment, and I just totally went off the agenda. So yes, you all could still say, lovely, please come. Dr. Trimkamp, come on down. And we have an update regarding community feedback from our previous meeting. Thank you so much for always coming back with information that you've taken from our committee meetings and putting it into motion quickly as possible. So I'll just turn it over to you to go ahead and discuss.
And good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning and for bumping me up on the agenda. I'm due at Clemente Middle School for an esports kickoff today.
Important.
And we have a lot of guests coming to see how that's going to work. So I want to make sure I do good things here and then move up the street. So thank you. I wanted to just take a couple minutes and provide a quick update on one area that surfaced at the September communications meeting, where I know I shared in December a lot of work that we were doing to address the concerns that came out of that meeting. But there's one particular update that I wanted to share here that will be coming your way at the February 23rd board meeting. One of the themes that came out of the September meeting was how can we improve two-way communication? How can we improve translation? How can we improve providing system-wide tools for teachers to communicate with families and having families be able to communicate back. Tied to that is also how can we provide better communication in emergency situations? And we know we've had a number of those surface, and we want to always continue to look and see how we can improve. And the technology systems are one piece of that improvement. And so we've been paying very close attention to that and trying to figure out what solutions might help to bring that to a better place. So I'm pleased to share that a cross-office and cross-team work group came together and took a look at a variety of platforms to see how we could either replace or enhance what we're currently doing. And a result of that work together, and my colleagues, Elba Garcia and Chris Cram, co-chaired that work with me. And we went and took a look at maybe 8 or 9 different platforms. And what surfaced as a front runner for us in improvement is the possibility of piloting Remind. Which Remind 101, which provides almost all of what we currently have in Blackboard and more. So that translation piece, that two-way texting communication, being able to put video clips in the texting, the ability to communicate in urgent situations where in some cases families have opted out of communication. And I know, just because they don't want to get so much or they want to pick and choose what they want to get in terms of communication, the urgent messaging will override that opt-out so that even if they've opted out of other messaging, they would get that emergency communication or that urgent communication. So those are the types of things we were looking for. Remind also has the potential, we don't know yet, has the potential to replace some of the Canvas messaging. So one of the things we heard was parents are getting emails in Canvas about updates around their child's, classwork or things, but they're not able to reply. And so in this case, it does integrate with Canvas. What we want to do is come forward at the February 23rd consent items. There is a consent item that's scheduled to go forward that allows us the ability to pilot this solution, and if the pilot goes well, to look to pursue purchasing this solution, either as an enhancement or a replacement to other solutions that we have. So I wanted to share that brief update with you and give you sort of, share that that's where this is coming from. It's coming from the work that's been done in this work group, and give you an opportunity to ask any questions or share any comments about that before that does come forward at the end of February.
Ms. Yang?
I really want to say this is so appreciate. We appreciate this very much for your responsiveness and I know some of our school staff used to use it. I personally had used it before, so I'm very excited and to see that we have this new development. Thank you for your work and leadership, and thank you for Ms. Elba and the members, and Mr. Cram's contribution. Thank you.
Ms. Vera-Oven?
You saw me smiling. I am delighted that this took place. Thank you to Ms. Elba and Mr. Krams and the team. Thank you for taking action on it. It is really so important to put ourselves in parents' shoes when it comes to communication, and that's what you did. So I'm looking forward to our meeting next week, right, to hear more details about it. And again, I am very appreciative of the efforts.
No, thank you. So I hope that you will be present next week to speak about it. I know Mrs. Smodrowski has, I think she's mentioned Remind, so I think people will be very excited, board members will be very excited to hear that we're piloting it. We appreciate that. And we want you to go ahead and get to the school, so that way you're,
Thank you
you're
so
not
much.
late. But thank you for the update.
And happy Monday. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day. All right. And at this time, we're going to turn it over to Ms. Backey and Ms. Beal. The board in general really has a strong belief in wanting to ensure that our students are learning and that they're able to be successful at the same time that we continue to help in every way that we can as a public school system to strengthen our families, right? Which in turn strengthen communities. We all know that. And so the blueprint for Maryland is legislation that's out that will help us to continue to do that. So we'll hear more detail about what community schools are, right? So this is, our meeting is titled How Partnerships Can Support our community. So we'll hear more detailed about community schools in regards to the blueprint, and then Ms. Beal will give us an update and discuss what's happening at our community schools here in Montgomery County Public School System, and we have some partners in the audience that we're excited to hear from. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Backey to get us started.
There's some slides. They're coming up in a minute. Okay. I'll begin by talking about the Blueprint for Maryland's Future, House Bill 1372. One part of that bill calls for the creation of community schools. They are funded through concentration of poverty grants that come through Blueprint dollars. They have been established to really target focused support academically and as far as social emotional skills are concerned and well-being for families in these particular schools. They began a rollout a few years ago under the Kerwin dollars, and they really started looking at schools that had higher concentrations of poverty. So they began with using the free and reduced meals or the farms as a proxy. So looking at schools that had 85% of poverty, and then eventually we will move to 55% 10% of poverty over a period of time, of staggered time. Community schools are in place through the blueprint all across the state. We have 26 of them in Montgomery County right now. They are an annual concentration of poverty grant that's provided each year through Blueprint funding. So we have 26 right now, and we're still waiting to hear about a final allocation for next year. It's very likely that we will have 10 or more additional community schools added within MCPS. There's a strong focus on the students and the families to provide them with wraparound services and supports, and to identify their strengths as well, and to be able to bring those services and supports to the families. So there's a process whereby a community assessment or a needs assessment is required as a part of the blueprint, where we're collecting data from the families and the communities about what types of services and supports might best help them. And so in this way, we can support our students academically as well as their well-being. We achieve this through partnerships with the community, and that's, I think, what we're really here to talk about today. To my left, you'll see there are a number of partners here who are supporting our schools, our community schools. You'll hear from some of them a little bit later on. But it has been a wonderful opportunity for us to really target some specific supports to these schools. In particular, in the community schools, they have some on-site behavioral health support, as well as continuous support by RNs, a registered nurse, in terms of the health support. So if there are evening activities, weekend activities, other activities, there's still that healthcare support provided on site. So I'm going to stop there for a moment, and that should give you sort of the universal picture of community schools. They are built on a national model, and it's really been very successful within MCPS. So I'm going to let Ms. Beal tell you a little bit more and to kind of go a little bit more in depth about our community schools here in Montgomery County, and I think you'll hear from one of our principals.
Just one question for you, Ms. Backey.
Yes.
When will we know whether or not the number will be 10 or more that will be added to?
I think we'll know very soon. Right now, there's some preliminary information, but it's very likely that we will have more than 10 in Montgomery County. Very likely, highly likely.
Sure. Ms. Rivera-Oven has a question as well.
Question for you. I know that, pardon me, they're all elementary schools right now. Any movement to make some of the community schools middle schools?
I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, so the state decides which schools. MCPS doesn't. So the state, based on that farms rate, I do anticipate next year we will get some middle schools in the next growth. So in July, we'll be given the list within 2 weeks, I think, from the state that will provide us those final numbers. Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Then you can go ahead and just get
keep
started.
on? Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. Can I see the next slide and then I think one more after that, please? Okay. So we're talking about the 4 pillars of community schools. So as Janine mentioned, talking about those wraparound services and that whole family support. So to build those strong communities and those strong families, we're really looking at those partnerships, those student supports, academic supports, and really that engagement that we're having with families and with partners in the community. Next slide, please. So this is just a graphic of our support services. We talk about, and we'll hear from our partners today regarding those enrichment activities as well as those resources for families. And we'll talk about wellness and mindfulness that's happening in the school as well. We've been able to implement a lot of medical screenings and working with DHHS to initiate further support for the hearing and vision for our students, such as we're partnering with agencies to do free glasses and free eye exams and extra steps, and besides the initial screenings. Next slide, please. So we're going to hear from our partners. I did want to mention that, we could not do this work without our partners and without our community partners. They're really the strength of this program. We've been able to build, within a year, over 50 partners. So when families have needs, we're really able to reach all of those partners and get all those needs met. So we've seen families access resources that they haven't before. We're able to bring those resources into the schools, have resource fairs, health fairs, a number of things. And our first one today is going to talk about food pantries and the openings of the capital area food program at our schools. Do we want to bring our partner up now?
Absolutely.
And we'll ask Mr. Davis to join us at the table as well. You can sit here. Oh.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Ross. I work at the Capital Area Food Bank, and I have had the pleasure to partner with Montgomery County Public Schools this school year, particularly in our expansion. We did a significant expansion of our programming this year, and as much as possible, we made sure to put those programs in community schools. We have been a mainstay for a hunger resource in the region for over 42 years. We do serve DC, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and Northern Virginia. And just for a little sense of our scope, we served 53 million meals last calendar year to our different community members. So, yes, next slide, please. So thank you for having me here. And again, it's been a great pleasure to work with Amy and her team and our schools in Montgomery County Public Schools.
And the next slide has your numbers too.
Okay, yes. Next slide, please.
So we're going to hear from we'll now hear from the principal at Weller Road on how these services have impacted his community.
Take this one right here. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Brent Mascott, principal at Weller Road. It's great to be here. So we've heard a little bit about the wraparound services, so I can just speak a little bit about what that looks like at Weller Road. We do amazing work partnering with our friends to really provide those wraparound services. And so we have before, during school, after school programs. We've worked with our dental visits, with our SNAP Ed programs as well to provide healthy eating supports for our students and families. We have book fairs that we've collaborated with folks to be able to provide free books. We have after-school activities, like I said, such as Lego Club, Art Club, basketball, soccer, civics club, again, just to provide those supports and resources for our students. We also provide critical resources for our families, such as providing clothing, holiday giving, Thanksgiving drive, feminine hygiene products, and obviously our newest kind of addition that we're so proud of, our food pantry. And you can see from the data up there that as of now we have served 337 total families, which we are really proud of. And in total, in terms of just the families that are served in the homes, we have served 1,382 total meals, or total folks have been served by our pantry, which is incredible. And that averages, and this is what we're really proud of, we average about 20 new families each time we open the pantry each day. So when we have our pantry open 2 days a week, we're averaging about 20 new families each day, and that's about 40 families each week because we're open twice a week. So we're just really ecstatic about the food pantry, and also we also have a diaper bank as well. So we're providing those critical needs for our families, and so we appreciate all the support that we've gotten from the county, but also from our different partners as well.
Well, thank you, Ms. Meadows, for the support that you provide to us. 53 million meals is very, it's a lot. It's impressive, the work that you do, and so we appreciate it. And just thinking about what you just said, 20 new families each time just really shows you that there's a need out there, and that I'm glad that we can fill that need for our students. So let me ask this question. What is it, I'm assuming that we have some volunteers that come in and help, and what does that look like in terms of volunteers supporting?
Right, so I would say two of our biggest supports are our community school liaison, Kathy Carpello, who's sitting right over there, and also our parent community coordinator, Miriam Romero, who's not here today. But the two of them are definitely the driving force in terms of the day-to-day. But yes, we do also have some folks that will come in and provide support to help, distributing the food and all the traffic and everything like that. So yes, it's definitely a team operation.
Very good.
Can I add to that? We also use volunteers in the high school and the middle schools to get their SSL hours. So at a lot of our pantries and markets, you'll see a number of older students coming to help their communities.
Oh, very good. Well, I have one more I can add to that. Volunteer in my family. Oh, very good. So are there are there any barriers to our volunteers being able to provide support, to be able to help in our community schools? I don't know, transportation, just being able to get there. Like, are they usually the parents of the students that go to the school?
So I would say for our volunteers at the schools, they do have to sign in with their IDs and follow that process and do the child abuse and neglect training.
Okay.
I don't think for food pantries, I think a barrier for our families is when fingerprinting is required. Either they have transportation issues getting to the fingerprint locations. So for field trips and the more chaperoning or working with students in the school outside of the food pantry, because the food pantry, there's always a staff, an MCPS staff person there. But for other things, I think that could be a barrier for the fingerprinting process.
Okay.
I have a clarifying questions about field trip. You know, I understand our community school is doing a great job taking each level of students, each grade students to experience the society, the community outside. Now, if someone a parent, because we do family field trip, that's for community school, right? It's very different. So if a family member want to just go on that field trip, does that family member need to be fingerprinted?
Yes, so the current process is that they get fingerprinted, which, you know, due to the location of fingerprinting is an issue, and then the payment for the fingerprinting.
So that, I was not aware of that, because in the past when I have volunteered a long time ago, an occasional field trip, we don't require the fingerprinting, but maybe that have changed. But that is one thing now, because we have community school, so our field trip policies, we can take a look at that on our policy committee. Thank you for that feedback.
There's also requirements for like after 7 p.m. for field trips, which for our families, if we wanted to do like Christmas lights, for example, or holiday lights, something that would be in the evening, that's also challenging because there's extra steps if the field trip's going to go past 7 p.m. And so I know about the fingerprinting process. My daughter was in middle school when this started. Back then, which is like 5 years ago, I guess, they would come to the school and they did fingerprinting at the school for parents, and they're not doing that anymore. I'm sure it's staffing and a number of issues, but that's something that could help our families, that if there's a way to implement.
Okay, clarify. So the after-hour field trip, there's another form, as I understand, another
packet of forms.
A packet of form.
Yes.
And so for community schools, that might be
that's a barrier.
A barrier. Okay, after-hour forms.
Yeah, so it's kind of a couple of things for field trips for families that we're hoping to get some support on.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm glad that you brought that to our attention. Thank you.
Ms. Rivera-Oven.
Yeah, and actually, we brought that point up at a couple of meetings ago to have clarity, and they were going to get back to us. So this answers that question, which is, I'm just going to follow up on that and then ask my two questions. It is so important to get rid of barriers so families can be involved in the schools. I mean, this is literally what we want. We want to treat not just the child, but we want to treat the family as well as part of the school system. And when we have any kind of barriers or an impediment where a parent cannot go on as simple as a field trip with their child, that is detrimental, in my opinion. So I'm going to ask the powers to be, whoever are here, whoever are hired, to look at least with our community schools, to bring fingerprinting to the schools so we can remove that barrier so our parents can actually be able to go to your school, and once they're fingerprinted, they can volunteer in the library, they can do so many other things, because this is vital to creating a community. You cannot have a community school without a community. That is a little bit hypocritical, in my opinion. Couple of questions. First, I want to thank the Capital Area Food Bank, taking my hat off and putting my county hub hat on. So thank you for everything that you guys have done during the pandemic when it comes to food insecurity in the area. So a couple of questions. just on the whole, on how uniform it is across the board, how community schools are working throughout the county, okay? Because my experience, because of what I do with the rest of my life, besides it's food insecurity and it's community involvement, so I have seen some discrepancies in certain schools on how they have launched this, or how they have not done such a great work with community partnering, and maybe this is work in progress because this is something new. But a couple of things. The state didn't give us the funding to be able to buy the food in bulk and to be able to buy the diapers because everything costs. And I have seen a huge increase in food prices. I mean, no longer can we even provide eggs to our families. That's like literally just not even reasonable, which is really sad. So I'm just wondering, the budgetary, how that works, what is the allocation for that, who do we use for the diaper distribution, because that's important to have partners that understand the community and they don't put barriers that are unnecessary and unwelcoming and unfriendly, because again, I've been on the other side where that has happened repeatedly. So if you can just tell me a little bit about that, I would really appreciate it.
Yes. So we work with Capital Area Food Bank, but we also work with a number of other partners, MANA, Women's Who Cares Ministries. We work with the Montgomery County Food Council. And so how this started was a kind of meeting of the six of us to discuss how to get more food access into community schools. So we still are doing weekend bags at community schools, even if they have a food pantry or a market. So this has been a slow rollout of the past year with Capital Area Food Bank, but we charted all of our food resources and we shared that among our partners for food and met with the Food Council because we didn't want to duplicate. So if MANA was already doing a market, then we didn't put a Capital Area Food Market. And so really we collaborated. We meet monthly. I talk to Kate all the time, but
Amy and I talk multiple times a week.
Yes. So we're constantly in connection with those partners. We refer to the Up County Food Hub, and we refer to other partners as well. So MANA was able to deliver food actually to families that had COVID and help us in that way. And so we're all meeting and partnering nonstop at this point, and we all text each other, and we have a great just kind of food partnership, I'd say, in general. And we have the farm share, community farm share, thank you, who's providing through their county council grant to work with 10 community schools to get fresh produce. We've been able to get refrigerators donated, and we were able to purchase a couple last year, and one of them received a grant from the council to get a refrigerator to store the produce. So I think we have a good system now to organize our resources best. And we do not provide funding to any of our food resource partners.
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as the budgeting goes, I think this is really exciting for everyone to know. So the programs through us at the Capital Area Food Bank, they are zero cost to MCPS. They are zero cost to the school, zero cost to the families. So, we kind of work out the funding on our end through our various channels to be sure that we can provide the family markets and the school pantry resources at absolutely zero cost. So.
And I will say that Capital Area does a great job with not only giving us the food, but the shelving and going over the space for us, because every pantry is in a different space in the schools, depending on their size. So they're great with giving us like carts to roll the food. I mean, everything you can think of, storage containers, they have done a great job. And the same is true for MANA. They do not have a cost for us either.
And the diapers?
Diapers. The diapers are done in partnership with the Maryland Diaper Bank. And so there is a cost associated with that. We gave out 82,000 diapers in 3 months. So we are waiting on our next supply. We've increased our order. We had 3 diaper locations at the schools. And again, that's due to space, but all 26 schools could access them through their community school liaison. So there's a diaper bank at Weller Road, but somebody at Wheaton Woods could go and pick up diapers for their families. We also, So What Else is working out of, I think, Lake Forest Mall, and so they also have diapers. And so as we don't have any right now, our CSLs are able, community school liaisons, are able to go and pick up from other organizations. I know the Hub had some also, and so they were sending families there too. So we try to coordinate that, but there is a cost for the diapers. But it's a lower cost than what you would get in the stores.
And following up on that, where does that funding come from? And do
The
you
community
need it?
schools.
The community, which is through the state?
State.
Okay.
Yes.
And then this question is either for Principal Mascot or Ms. Beal. Talk about, so that the community can hear, we are doing community schools. How does this support or impact academic achievement?
Sure. So we're always looking at, right, that impact on our data. What does that say? So we're actually looking at that right now in terms of looking at the growth from like our reading and math data from fall to winter. We just finished that. So we anticipate definite growth, but I can say that what the impact that it has had, because we look at this every month, is our absenteeism has gone down since the beginning of the year. And so that's great that I think, it's really helping the kind of those critical needs and the mental health, right? When our kids are better and they feel better, they're going to be more apt to being at school. So we have actually seen a decrease in our absenteeism and tardiness since the beginning of the year.
Very good. So we want our community to hear that and know when we're putting our dollars in our budget, that it's going to a very good cause. So one more thing. So when families hear about the additional supports that we're providing to our schools, which seem very fabulous, they might want to say, I want to go to Weller Road. So just share with our community who gets to go to a community school, right? Because people may not know. They might think they get to self-select, and that more than likely is not the case. I know that it's not, but can you just explain?
Right. So in terms of just, looking at the boundaries, right? So like for folks who are within the Weller Road, school boundary, they would be ones that would be articulating or matriculating to Weller Road.
Absolutely. Just want our community to hear. Sure. Don't get to choose.
I just wanted to add that even if you're a family that's not within the boundaries of the community schools, these various partners and community agencies are still available to provide support for families who are not in the community school boundaries, because these services are still available.
Absolutely.
Many of the services through these nonprofit agencies.
Absolutely. And we do want our community to know all of our partners. I believe education is everyone's business. And so if there's a need, please reach out to your principals to be able to get connected to the various partners. So no, thank you. I don't know, Mr. Davis, you came to the table. I don't know if you wanted to pop in or are you coming a little bit late? Okay. All right. So do we have another community partner that we wanted to bring up? Okay.
If I could see the next slide, please. I think this is just overall data.
Our next slide.
Next slide, please. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
And I think you have this PowerPoint. So the next slide, please. So I included data for both the markets and the pantries county-wide or community school-wide. And so you can see all the numbers duplicated and unduplicated there for unique families served. And I will say we are expanding next month with 2 markets and 1 pantry.
Yes, so very exciting. We will have our 13th and 14th Family Market Community School opening this month. Roscoe Nix is going to start their first market on Friday, and Summit Hall will be next week. And then we also have another pantry. Their first delivery will occur next week, to be determined exactly when they'll open. It does take a little bit of time after you get that first delivery of food to get everything unpacked and set up and prepare to open, your doors to the community. But yeah, just within these next couple of weeks, we anticipate 3 more community schools being operational with those programs.
And we welcome anybody to attend that would like to attend. The next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next partner.
Thank you.
And can you, Ms. Bill, can you send us the date so that way we can see if our schedules are open? And you know what? We'll just do it to the whole entire board, or you can just send it to one of us, and then we'll make sure that other colleagues get it in case they have an interest. Ms. Rivera-Oven, did you have a question for the preview?
I did have a quick question before. Something that the principal I'm so sorry, I forgot your.
Scott.
It's okay. Weller Road, Brent Mascot. It's okay.
Okay, there, okay, done. He gave us such a great data on attendance. So my question is, the evaluation that's going to take place, how is that evaluation going to take place, by when, and what are you looking for? I think this is such a valuable data to ensure that there's less absences, and because I know especially in middle school we have a crisis with many of our Black and brown kids when it comes to attendance. So could you talk a little bit about that, what that evaluation looks like, when, and what are you looking for?
Yes, so as Janine mentioned earlier, every school the first year that becomes community school has to do a needs assessment. And so that is, surveying families, surveying staff, meeting it with focus groups, PTAs, all the stakeholders, partners, to get feedback on what the community needs are. So I will say and then we wrote a plan called the implementation plan at every school. Last year we wrote 16 plans. And so what across the board the goals were attendance, social, emotional, and well-being. And then there was kind of a variety of other goals for the third. I would say like wraparound services or those critical needs or things like that. So what we're doing now is we unfortunately don't have a data system for community schools in MCPS. We are working to build that. What we have done is coordinate through Excels and Google Forms and some other things. So we're piecing that data together. Not ideal, but it's something that I've been working on since I started here, and we're continuing to build. So we do have team meetings with Synergy folks and some IT folks to get that going and hopefully roll out next year.
Ms. Field, what is it that you need to get that started? Because that is really, really important.
I think we're on track. I have a meeting next week. We have done our initial meeting and we have another meeting next week. And we're really trying to build that for all of our kind of community systems here in MCPS. So Judy Centers, community schools, there's an ESOL, PCCs, PCCs. We're trying to build it in such a way that it's not just community schools, but everyone can enter their data in to show the support. And so as we meet and decide that, we are working through. But they've given me a tentative date of being done by June. And so we can hopefully roll out this summer with training and be all set for next year.
Okay. So
I just wanted to add one of the important things, and we did meet recently to talk about this, to be able to add this data that they're keeping sort of separately into Synergy.
Yes.
But also the importance of being able to identify which families participate in which activities and being able to track these services and the academics, everything back to the individual student. So that will be a good way that everyone can also have access to that data rather than them just collecting the separate data. But we did have a preliminary meeting on that, and it's a way to look at all of the different programs that are doing other types of outreach that are that may be academic, but they may be other service-oriented types of supports. So I think that we did have a very successful meeting about that. But again, we'll be able to track back to the individual students and what they received. So it's very exciting.
I'll be asking about it next week on the
Okay.
Okay, good.
Ms. Yang?
Community school is the idea of instead of it's our system answer to the community instead of the other way around, the community answer to the system. So we talk about, you showed the wonderful 4 pillars, and social emotional well-being, family support, youth and family engagement, and academic. I have seen it in action at Harmony Hill and Wheaton Woods, see how their liaisons handing out the street right on for the families. So wonderful things, great things. So what we are looking at, and I'm very glad to hear that the data collection is happening, because when we offer hope and we want to be able to translate it to our students' academic performance and have academic success with our built-in services. So really excited that this is being built, and then we'll be able to see some results. Thank you for your work.
Absolutely. And hopefully there's a way that we can capture parent information, like their feedback as to the services that are being provided as well.
Yes, sure. So I'll just speak on that. We survey principals. Like I said, we survey the entire school staff, including supporting positions. But we do a lot with our families. Like you've mentioned at Harmony Hills, they're doing parent coffees, parent meetings. We're building steering committees at the schools that would include parents and hopefully some older students that are able to take on those leadership roles too. And so it's a lot of ways that we are constantly connecting. All the community schools are on Twitter, and I know that's how you all see our work too, but we're very happy with that. I will say as far as attendance, I know last year, and then I'll let my partner speak, but we had students showing up so they could do after-school soccer, right? It was an incentive for them to be at school that day. And so we heard a lot of that from our students and our families. And we saw families coming out to watch the soccer and to say like, oh, we made sure he was here today or she was here today so she could participate in soccer. And so again, just tying all of this to the academics is really every piece of it. You know, the food, the critical needs, the, you know, the excitement to come to school. And so this was one of our starting programs. I think we started with this, and so that was exciting for us.
Absolutely. And so we know it'll make a difference. We just want, we want our families to be, we want to be able to communicate specifically, right? Ms. Rivera.
Last thing I'm going to say, sorry. But as you were talking about the family's involvement in the committees and having them be involved in meetings and so on, it just came to me how important it is to have folks who are coordinating a lot of the services to be able to look like the communities that we are serving and to be able to acknowledge sometimes the differences in culture and how we interact and how we approach families to be able to feel a trust and a comfort when it comes to things like this. Because, you know, it's I'm looking at that where you're going to talk about soccer. I mean, you know, in the Latino community, we breathe, we you know, we live, you know, football, you know, like every weekend at my house, my mom and my kid who is a junior at Maryland University, he comes home every Friday so he can watch football with grandma, you know, the Premier League. I mean, this is, so finding things like that that actually connect with the community is so incredibly vital, but it's also having the staff that also looks like them and that they can actually feel a connection and a trust with.
Thank you.
So next slide, please. And then we will introduce.
Thank you, Principal Mascott. Yes.
Good morning. Thank you for having us today. My name is Nathan Meadows, and I am the Director of Outreach and Grassroots for the Maryland State Youth Soccer Association. A little bit about MSYSA. We are the highest administrative authority for youth soccer in the state of Maryland and Washington, D.C. We have approximately 200 affiliated clubs and leagues that work with us, serving now approximately 70,000 players across that jurisdiction. And so we started our Let's Play program as an opportunity to reduce barriers and increase opportunities for children that are living in, you know, what may be considered historically underserved communities, to give them access to what we consider to be the beautiful game. One of the things that was very important to us is that this wasn't just a soccer program, but that it was a soccer program that included social emotional learning and that was character building. In addition to that, we wanted to make sure that this wasn't just about us coming into a community to provide a service, but we wanted to partner with the community to make sure the community was involved with that. Not just that local community, but other partners as well that can come in and help support the program that we're running. We launched in one school in Jackson Road Elementary School in the fall of 2021, and we started off with 40 children, but the popularity was so great immediately that we had to add a second day. That increased to 80 children at Jackson Road. With that being so popular, of course, I think that got to Amy, and so we quickly held meetings to see if we could increase the program. So we added Rolling Terrace Elementary School during the spring of 2022. And then this past fall, we added an additional 6 schools, I think serving approximately about 540 children across those 8 schools this past fall. In total, we've now been operating in 9 MCPS schools with approximately 1,200 children since the fall of 2021. And one of the beautiful things about our program is that not only do we want to provide a soccer opportunity for these kids, but we want them to have access to resources and equipment too that will help them to play when they're not part of our program too. So we work with an organization called Leveling the Playing Field to provide a pair of free cleats to every single child that participates in our program. And every child that participates also gets a free soccer ball to take home so they can continue to play and have the opportunity to play with their neighbors and friends in the community as well. we provide things like program T-shirt and that kind of stuff, but the children really are getting to the stage where they consider that to be their team, that we are their coaches, and it's been the most significant outreach program, the most significant and most important program that we feel at MSYSA that we have ever done in our 47-year history. Because soccer has traditionally been known in the US as a middle-class sport, and the pay-to-play model has made access incredibly difficult for so many kids across the country and in this area. And we had the opportunity to help reduce those barriers, and so we're thrilled to partner with MCPS to do that.
Excellent. I mean, my goodness, giving every student a pair of cleats that's half the battle right there.
Yeah.
Usually the
Right.
equipment, is what hinders our students. And so thank you. You've given us very great detailed information as to what schools you're in. I appreciate the support that you provided to Montgomery County, and I hope we can get you in more schools. I appreciate that. Ms. Rivera-Oven, you have any questions?
I do.
Sure.
But first, let me just say thank you so much for the work that you do. This is truly this is truly an equity breaker for me. Okay, because I work with families every day. That one of the biggest barriers is to buy cleats for their kids, to be able to rent an instrument so their kid can take an instrument at school. So for me, this is really the kind of work that I love to see and partner. Of course, we have 110 elementary schools, so we have a long way to go, and 26 community schools. So what I'm interested in is, and maybe Ms. Vila, you can send this to us, the list of the schools that currently have this program, because I'm really interested in the geographic areas that we are providing this program, because and maybe I'm wrong, but I have not heard of it in Up County. With the kids, I work very closely in the trailer park community, as you know, and this is something that they could definitely use in that community. So if you could do that would be great. And I guess my next question is how else can we expand this to a larger scale? Because it's not just community schools. There's many schools who are on the borderline of farms. Like you said, we're going to be working our way up to 50%, right? And anything that we can do to keep children busy in a healthy environment, in a safe environment, and so they can make the right choices early on, sticks with them when they move to middle school. And then my next question is, what are we doing for the middle schools? Because let me tell you, they have a lot of time in their hands after school. This is a group of kids that I worked very closely with in my early career. And the more you keep them busy, especially in sports and music and other things, the better we are off. So I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of the system and on behalf of the kids. But if you have any feedback, would be great.
Points. So we speak a lot as well, and I'm always, what's the capacity? How many more schools can you take on? Is a lot of the conversation. I keep pushing in the best way. And I will say that Soccerplex has also taken on 8 of our schools. And we are also working with 2 other partners next year to make sure all 26 of our schools have soccer after school. So we're working with a number of organizations because nobody at this time has capacity to serve all 26. So we've kind of broken them geographically. Soccerplex is only able to serve like the Germantown, Gaithersburg area with their coaches. We also gave out scholarships to Soccerplex for their summer programming last year for families. And so we had almost 200 students at community schools participating in that. We have activity buses for all of our after-school soccer, so transportation is not a barrier. So we work with our partners at Let's Play on making sure all the students get home and safely and have that bus to take. So we do, we're growing, and as we get more schools next year, we'll continue to talk about capacity and what that looks like.
If I could just add also, I mean, we certainly do have it in our roadmap to expand in Montgomery County Public Schools, in addition to other school districts as well. We do, Amy and I have talked about this, but getting the teachers involved with the program too is one area that will help us to expand more rapidly. We certainly Our goal is that it is a community-based program, and we would love to have parents involved as well. Of course, in the Hispanic community, lots of people that love the game. We have some barriers, which we're looking at how we can reduce those, because as an organization, we have certain risk management priorities for us too, and mandatory compliance things with regards to training and background checks and those kinds of things. And so that does present a barrier to parent volunteers being involved with the program, but it is certainly something that we want to address. And if I could just speak to one thing that you mentioned earlier, we're very proud of the fact that approximately 75 to 80% of our coach mentors are Black and brown coaches, and probably a third of those, or third of the total group, are Hispanic, Spanish-speaking coaches too.
No, I music to my ears, and I just want to say that, you know, the way that you can recruit more parents, I mean, if we can get out of the barrier of the fingerprinting and the background check, bring them to the schools, do that, and then we make the connection with your program, and you already have a pool of parents. Because I'm telling you, we love soccer. I was a soccer coach for Magruder High School when I was in college, and we actually made it, you know, to the championship. So, so any barriers that we can, I know you're laughing. But and it was a boys soccer team. So I think we can make those connections, and I think the community will be happy to respond. I think it's just how we do it, and just removing some of those barriers. So thank you so much for that information. That's absolutely wonderful.
Just want to add to that, we've had parents ask us for tournaments across the schools, and they want organizations of games. They're like, okay, this is practice, when's the game? And I'm like, I don't know that I'm ready to take that on yet. But we're hoping to build to that and organize that.
And also, there are community partners that are your traditional community partners, even the Latino community with the Chambers of Commerce and the Salvadorian Chambers of Commerce, and so many folks who would love to support an initiative like this. That, you know, if it is about cost, they would probably love to support something, because it keeps. I was talking to the Chamber of Commerce from El Salvador, and my message was, even if you don't have kids in the school system, they still are kids, right? And they were like, well, tell us what we can do. We'd be happy, you know. And I'm telling you, soccer is like, we breathe soccer, okay? So.
I can certainly say from our perspective, we would passionately love that. It has always been a goal of ours to combine and partner with lots of groups, and not just for it to be us. And I know you also asked about middle schools, and we didn't address that. And so I will say this, that our program was very intentionally designed for elementary age children, because the overwhelming majority of sports programming that is provided to underserved communities is for middle school and high school students. Not necessarily us, but in general. And so we were very focused on making it elementary school as that on-ramp to sports participation, that they would then fall in love, you know, and continue to do those things later on. We have had some discussions with other organizations that actually do work in middle schools. DC Scores is one program that has a soccer program and a literacy component with their program, about potentially partnering with them, and we would be the elementary piece, and then they would be the middle school piece that we would pass on, because they predominantly work in DC right now, but they're looking for opportunities to expand into Maryland.
You know where to find Ms. Veal, so.
And I will say, we do fund, out of community schools funds, all of our soccer programs, whether it's Let's Play or Soccerplex, or we do, with the concentration of poverty funds, fund those agencies to help us. But they also do a wonderful job partnering with us to provide the extras, book drives we've talked about, and different things like that. So we have other ways we partner outside of just like the funding piece, but they're a great partner that we really value.
We can tell. Thank you. Ms. Yang.
Yes, thank you. So I want to take this opportunity to actually appreciate our school administrators and supporting staff in our buildings. Whenever we have after-school activities, and especially several of them, it needs the coordination happens. You have a soccer program, it's a rainy day. The student will need to be in the building, where in the building to put them, how to coordinate with other after-school programs. So I just want everyone to aware that this is truly a team effort to make all these pieces fit and move smoothly. So thank you for our administrators and all our building supporting professionals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. That's a really great point to make. So are there no further questions on this section? We'll let you all continue. And thank you so much for coming to speak.
Thank you.
It's really great that we're able to meet and see our community partners. We hear about them often, but not always are we able to put a face with a name. And to personally thank you for the support that you provide to our schools and our students. Okay, with that, I'll let you continue on. Yeah.
We can I see the next slide, please? And the next slide, please. So I'm going to introduce our last partner, which is the University of Maryland. And I'll let
Oh, sure. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Dr. Galina Reitz from the University of Maryland, College Park. I am from the College of Information Studies, and specifically, I'm the director of one of our programs at the universities at Shady Grove. And we work closely with community college students, so transfer students mostly. And ultimately, they get 2 years in community college, and then they come to us for their last 2 years. So we're a little bit different than the traditional freshman student that you'll see on main campus at College Park, but we're also located really strategically at Shady Grove, and so we have a lot of community partners through Shady Grove. Mostly, my personal area is with voice technology and technology research and supporting older adults and their well-being and really kind of building intergenerational teams. And so, as you may know, the University of Maryland is very passionate about working with the community in any capacity, mostly in PG County. So this was a great opportunity to expand our reach. And our take on STEM education is a little bit different. Our program is very interdisciplinary. And so you may think of the traditional STEM education as programming, computer science, engineering, which is wonderful and it's a great base. But our college really focuses on design, on mobile application design, on the social science part of technology education. So it's very broad, but also focused on really giving our students skills that they can go into the workplace and really kind of immerse themselves in technology. And so our college is focused on data science, so we do have that expertise. But through our relationship, we launched a STEM club for 6 weeks. This was in the fall. And it was a pilot, and so we built out 6 weeks of programming, anything from building mobile applications to design to virtual reality. And so as we moved through each week, we were sort of learning and figuring out what the kids were interested in. We had 20 students from 5th grade. We worked with Whetstone. It was a wonderful experience. I had 3 undergraduate students who volunteered to support me as part of the STEM club. It was an amazing experience for them, which I'm really excited to always involve undergraduate students and make sure that they have exposure and experience. And we focused on really understanding where the kids are and kind of building on their already pre-existing skills. So we had a few students who had some experience with design, and so we built on those skills. And my undergraduate students were really fantastic in working individually with them, and so it was really a wonderful program. I think they really enjoyed it. We were invited back for STEM Club, which was in January. We had a line out of the door for the virtual reality set. So we really kind of were realizing what's popular and where we should focus our efforts. And so I'm currently in conversations with Meta to try to get us at least 30 virtual reality sets. So we only had one that we purchased. So as you can imagine, it was a little bit working with 20 students with one VR set was an issue, but we're looking to expand. And so it's just been an amazing experience, and we're really looking to expand, hopefully go to Weller Road, continue Whetstone. We're planning for another spring STEM club for first graders now, and so really kind of looking to support kindergarten and first grade as well as continue with 5th graders.
Thank you. Ms. Rivera-Evan, you have a question?
Again, incredibly thankful, looking forward to the expansion of this program. I'm a huge believer in introducing our children to STEM early on. Back in the day, I was able to work in bringing a coding program with Nancy Navarro to the high school in the names I'm forgetting. I'm going blank on it. But in the Wheaton area, Wheaton High School, and we brought a coding with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation a few years ago, and it just took off, and it was amazing how these young people reacted to an opportunity, to a challenge, to a belief that they can achieve, and that's so important. So when you do STEM at an early age, you're already telling a child that they have all the qualities to be able to expand on their learning, and that you actually have a belief in them being whatever they want to be, and that you're supportive. So it makes a huge difference. I don't have to tell you how this makes a huge difference in children who are Black and brown, in children who are ESOL, as a former ESOL student.
Me too.
Oh, great. That's wonderful.
And I went to Wheaton as well for a couple years.
Okay. So these are things, that we always carry with ourselves as former ESOL students, that one teacher, that one person who believed in you, who was able to just connect with you at a level that, so your English is not perfect, but you are whole. You are, you're going to be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. And that kind of message, I see this with these kinds of clubs. So I am delighted. I'm almost in tears because, we have gone through so much during the pandemic, and our children have gone through so much, and all of us as adults and our support staff and our teachers, there's not one person in this room who has not been touched by the pandemic and some kind of trauma that brought us. So we put ourselves in the kids' shoes. Some of these kids, had kindergarten online, right? They didn't have the socialization, and we're seeing that, right? So anything that we can do to bring out that creativity and that belief in them, I am all for it. So I know Ms. Field's going to tell me how we're going to expand this program into other schools.
I will say that Galena has been another wonderful partner, but there was no cost to us, right, for this pilot program. The University of Maryland, the undergrad students, the supplies, materials, all of that were funded by her department. And so, we're looking at ways of, okay, if we added in some costs, how many more schools can we take on? How can we get more of your students involved? So we're having those discussions. I hope it's something that we continue and grow on and expand. But again, it was wonderful. I actually went a few times too and helped out, and so it was great to see. And they were really interested in the material. So
please invite us next time. There is no, we do a lot of this work. We do a lot of the reading. We do a lot of the heavy lifting. But for me, the joy is in actually seeing some of these kids involved and seeing the little faces and seeing how excited they are about these programs. So, and that is my district. So I will make time from whatever to be able to be there. So thank you so much, Dr. Reitz, for your work, for your commitment. Thank you to the University of Shady Grove for seeing the value in our children and investing in them. I think this is absolutely, we're at a crossroads where we all have to be hands on deck at this moment. And even in one of the richest counties in the country, we have our challenges. And so I'm just very excited about all of this.
Yes, so glad to hear that we're working on how we can build it out. So we'll stay tuned for that, as well as when you come back in the spring. And there's a hope that the undergraduate students that you're bringing will somehow turn into teachers, like they've worked with teacher educators as well. Ms. Yang.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is about community partners. So you have showcased wonderful community partners in various areas. So 2 questions. First of all, hopefully a lot of people are watching this meeting, right? First of all, if a community partner is interested in partnering with us, who should they contact? How should they go about this?
they can contact me. So I'm an office of one. I have some staff that have been loaned to me, but I'm the primary on that.
Okay, so contact Amy Bill. Your information is on the slide. I believe it's next slide. And we're hoping to provide you more support to build out your office more. Now, second of all, it's wonderful to hear that a lot of our community partners are offering this at no cost to us. But if there is a cost associated or partial cost associated, are they fundings for those community partners?
So we are funding all the partnerships through the community school funds right now. They're limited, right? They come from the state. The blueprint has some requirements for some suggestions, I'll say, for county pickup cost or what the LEA should fund, some guidelines. Right now, MCPS doesn't contribute to that, so we have the state funds, and we have a pocket of money from the state. So we do as much as we can, and we work with our partners to cover those costs.
Stretch those dollars. All right, so thank you so much. So that hopefully a lot of community partners get an understanding of how this works. Thank you.
Last thing, can I say?
Ms. Rivera.
And last thing, Ms. Beal, is knowing that you were presenting today, I brought a community partner for you to meet. And in the Gaithersburg area, somebody that I had encouraged to start a tutoring program at Wilkins Mill Elementary School. And has taken off and has incredible data. He's very well respected in the community. President of the PTA at Watkins Mill High School, and the data is amazing. And not only do they tutor the children, but they also do English with the parents. So they do the whole unit. So Mr. Norm Gordon is in the audience, and I'm going to ask him then when we're done to directly get to know you, and hopefully, because I know they are looking to expanding the tutoring program that they have that has been incredibly successful, the one-on-one, where the children have really responded to it and their grades have gotten incredibly well in their attendance. And so this is very close to my heart. So thank you so much for your presentation, and to all the partners, Ms. Ross and everybody else. It takes a village to do what we do. And you are part of that village, so we are very, very grateful to all of you.
I just wanted to add one thing. I was thinking about the comment that you made about one person being a change agent or that sort of turnaround person, and often through partnerships and programs that are sometimes outside of the school day, students are able to meet role models and to have an opportunity to think differently about themselves based on the impression that they have from those that are working with them. So I think that's something really important when you gather feedback about, and you talk to students about how they people made changes in their lives. Often it was through role models, through opportunities, through community partnerships. And the other thing is that engaging students in those after-school hours and having opportunities for them to participate helps them to maybe make better choices. It keeps them engaged so they're not with idle time and sometimes making bad decisions. It allows them to be engaged and to be more focused, and the incentives that are provided, like the soccer and other things. I really want to come to school today because there's going to be soccer going on, or I'm not worrying about whether there'll be food at home because I know that need is met. So it really helps the students to stay focused and to be a motivator and an incentive for them. But then also they get to meet lots of role models that look like them. And so it makes them hopeful about their own futures and what might be possible. And so I think that's one really good outcome that's coming out of the community schools. Thank you.
Take it from somebody who experienced it. Makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for coming to talk with us today. I did want to, I get caught up. So there was a clarification earlier. We were talking about fingerprinting. And so I was told attendees for field trips do not have to be fingerprinted unless there's going to be supervising the students. So they can attend, but if they're going to be in close contact with the students, then they will need to be fingerprinted. So just wanted to put that out there. But this was a really great discussion that we had today. Thank you so much, and to our community partners as well. I won't reiterate what has been said. All of it great stuff, and.
Thank you for that fingerprinting update.
Absolutely.
That is helpful, right? It's only a one-time participation and not a supervisory role. Then we can remove that barrier for families. Thank you.
I would like to know, so my question is for chaperoning, I guess, if they're chaperoning other students, it's my understanding they have to be fingerprinted. So,
Mr. Graham, are you coming down to talk? Yes, you can.
Yes, please.
You come on down.
Clarify the situation for us.
Ms. Yang,
Call Mr. Evans.
and we could do that as
Sure.
well.
Mr. Evans, too. Let's have a party.
This is important, right?
So, exactly what you said, and Mr. Evanson will correct me if I get it wrong, but if they have a supervisory role without an MCPS staff member present, then they do need to have participated in our child abuse and neglect training and be fingerprinted. If there is an MCPS staff member present and they're supervising or assisting with supervising children, then they need to have only taken the child abuse and neglect training. If they're attending, just attending with their children, no supervisory role, not a problem.
Ms. Rivera.
Is that correct?
Go ahead.
So can I just give you a scenario? Okay, I'll give you a scenario, because so this is all good, but I'm like, okay, so I'm a parent. We're going to the zoo, right? And I show up to the school because I want to be a parent that goes to the zoo with my kid. Back in the day when they were little, they will give me not just my kid, right? They will give me Joe and Sarah and Emily, right? You're going to be responsible for this cohort of kids, right? They always, so then we went to the zoo, we divided, and I was with the kids. I mean, the staff was there. So in that scenario, tell me, what do I need to do?
Yes, you need to be fingerprinted and complete the child abuse module, the 30-minute module.
Okay. Now give me a scenario where I don't need that.
So if you're attending with your child, but you're only with your child and you're not assigned other students that aren't your children, you would not need to. If you're attending, or if you're working in the media center on a regular basis, you do not need to be fingerprinted. You just need to have the child abuse and neglect training done. Anytime you're going to be supervising and expected to be the adult authority for other children, you would need to have that done.
So in Mrs. Beal's case, they will need to be fingerprinted and take the course. Pretty much.
Volunteering.
Depends if they have other kids in their group.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the whole point of going with your kid is kind of, because there's always some parent that doesn't show up who's supposed to show up. I mean, there's this, life happens, right? So there are situations we show up and they're like, oh, 2 parents did not show up. Ms. Owen, could you please take, these 3 kids? And so it creates a situation. So it sounds to me like the best course we can take is to ensure that these parents are fingerprinted and that we can go to them and help remove that barrier. I don't know how visible that is.
Anything we can do to help with that, we want to do that because that clears any type of scenario.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing worse, as a parent that you want to help, but then you're like, no, I can't.
And if they're just attending regular, special events,
Yeah.
like they're working at an assembly or a booster club, like they're working the snack, they don't have to, have
I was a homeroom
an
parent.
international night coming. We don't want to discourage because that's a barrier as well. But those one-offs are not necessary. You come to a classroom, celebration or a party, that's not.
And by the way,
one.
I am a huge proponent that we should do everything we can to make sure our kids are safe, right? So let's do that. And let's make it accessible so parents can actually get fingerprinted so we know that our children, whoever the adult is a safe adult. I think that's the best. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you. All right. Thank you all. And we have Mr. Davis. Mr. Everett Davis, he's the Director of Student, Family, and School Services, and that's in the Office of School Support and Wellbeing. We are now at the next portion of the agenda, let me find it, where we're going to talk about community partners within MCPS as a whole, not just for community schools. So I will turn it over to you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Committee Chair Evans. And I'm going to ask my guests to join me, please, at the table. Yes. Have two? Yes, please. Yes. I have two guests, which I will introduce momentarily, but good morning again.
Good morning.
To
Good morning.
everyone. Thank you to Committee Chair Evans, to Ms. Yang, and also to Ms. Rivera Oven. Just give them a moment to get settled.
Absolutely.
So we're going to build upon. So we're going to build upon the presentation that you already heard from my colleagues, Ms. Backey and from Ms. Beal. And as I said, again, good morning. You heard in my introduction, Everett Davis, serve as Director of Student, Family, and School Services, also known as SFSS, the land of acronyms. And I can say a frequent question that I receive is, what is SFSS? What does that do? What does it mean? And so I often respond that we are responsible primarily for family engagement and also community partnerships. And we do so through the expertise and knowledge and support of our family engagement specialists, also known as our PCCs, Parent Community Coordinators. So I really do want to give them a shout out for the work that they do throughout our system. As stated in our mission, we work to ensure families have the tools and opportunities to be active and effective partners in their children's school experience and support schools and community partners in building family-school partnerships to support learning opportunities in the classroom, community, and at home. This mission is in direct correlation with preparing our students for college, career, and community. You keep hearing that word, community readiness. It also aligns, and I know our board members are intimately familiar with this, with our strategic plan, specifically around community engagement and well-being, our DSIP, well-being and support, and that priority area number 1, that we talk about engaging our stakeholders and rebuilding our trust. So although this is the mission of SFSS, we cannot achieve our core purpose as a system without the support, as you've heard illuminated earlier, of our community partners. Also, as Dr. McKnight has previously shared, we cannot and should not do this work without our community partners. They represent critical stakeholders in preparing all students to thrive in their futures. That being said, although SFSS is often the face of this work, the face cannot survive without the body. My team collaborates with one section of community partners, and as you, of course, have heard earlier in the meeting, a different section of community partners. However, we as a system are so fortunate to collaborate with community partners in every aspect of our work. And without excluding anyone, I'll just name a couple. Our partners in curriculum and equity, technology. You heard from Dr. Trimkamp earlier in the meeting. Our partnerships unit, working with Ms. Garcia, our senior community advisor. Communications, I could go on and on. Our faith-based community is just endless, as well as to meet our basic needs, safety, security, as well as our well-being. So there are endless possibilities as far as our community partnerships. Our community partners provide resources, support, knowledge, expertise that helps to supplement the academic, operational, and professional excellence that already exists within MCPS. They serve as critical thought partners, trusted individuals that help to amplify the voices of our critical stakeholders with whom we have been challenged in connecting. And I appreciate the conversation from earlier where we talked about that. As critical thought partners, they help to provide input and feedback around current initiatives and challenges. As I stated earlier, we work with a myriad of community partners, and based on our time constraints for today's meeting, as well as our current landscape, we have invited 2 community partners who I have at the table with me, who have been true collaborators, resources, and supporters of our system and families. So it gives me great honor and pleasure to bring forward Ms. Laura Mitchell. You've had the pleasure of working with through our Wellbeing Learning Achievement team, specifically in student services. She is the co-founder of Montgomery Goes Purple. In her role with MCPS-MD, she's the Vice President of Advocacy, Substance Abuse Prevention Committee Chair. She is the chair of Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Advisory Council, also known as AODAC, and also the creator of the MCPS-MD Cares, which I know we've been on the ground in several situations, unfortunately, or fortunately, because we were able to provide supports with our staffs during when they're navigating crises. So fortunate to have her with us today. Thank you for being here. We also have Ms. Sarah Winkleman through the Jewish Community Relations Council, also known as JCRC. She is the Director of Education, Programs and Services. Ms. Winkleman's career at JCRC started with launching the Student to Student Initiative, a critical program empowering Jewish teens to combat anti-Semitism. And I've had the fortune of working with her as well as a colleague, Rabbi Avi Sharovsky, around our faith-based community partnership as well. So thank you to her and to the supports from the JCRC. Both of these ladies and the organizations that they represent have helped us to navigate and grapple with current challenges, as we mentioned, anti-Semitism, as well as our fentanyl crisis that we are navigating. And they've helped us to turn those challenges into opportunities at the district as well as at the school level. I want to thank them for being partners in, I'll say, goodness, really helping us to navigate those challenges. And as I said, having worked with them, I know Ms. Rivera-Oven, you mentioned the village. They are a part of our village. I'm very thankful to have them needed resources to help us to raise our children and connect for student success. So at this time, I'm going to introduce and let them continue with our presentation, Ms. Mitchell as well as Ms. Winkleman. Thank you again for being here today.
Hear me a little better. Good morning. Thank you for having us here. As Everett said, it's really an all hands on deck for pretty much everything we do. But when we start talking about substance use and mental health, it is an urgent all hands, feet, everything on deck. And that's my passion. From personal experience with my youngest son, who's now an adult, 7 years in recovery, I know the things that I didn't see and didn't know, and things I saw and didn't know what I was looking at. So my passion is making sure that parents know what to look for, what they're seeing when they see it, where to find help. That was a huge, huge barrier. It still is not easy, but it is getting better, and I fight every day to improve that. I've been working on legislative issues for about 10 years now, at the state level and the local level in Wycomico County before I transplanted here about 6.5 years ago. And even here, I serve as the chair of AODAC, which is changing their name to remove the word abuse. We're very focused on the language and reducing the stigma and making sure that people feel comfortable coming to others and asking for help and feel worthy of that help themselves. When we use labels that stigmatize and make them feel less than, they don't feel like they're worthy of help. So that's the first barrier in getting to treatment. But our real focus, my real passion is around the prevention, making sure that we don't ever have to talk about recovery with a student. If we never had to mention it again, I'd be very, very happy. And that starts with some options that we have about empowering parents to ask questions when they're at the doctor and their child is injured at the ER. Yes, they're in pain. Yes, you want it to stop. When the doctor says, I'm going to give you something for pain, ask what you're giving them. What are you giving them? Can we start with Tylenol or ibuprofen? Can we try that first? Because oftentimes you don't need that opioid, but that seems to be a go-to a lot of times. So if they don't get an opioid till they're past 25 and the brain is fully developed, we have a better chance that they will never develop an SUD, substance use disorder. The mental health piece, inextricably linked. Most people, for whatever reason, they do that first experiment, take that first pill, first drink, whatever that is. It's often to numb or escape. And even if that wasn't the reason they took it, they realize very quickly that that is what happens. My son's most profound statement to me was it made him feel like normal looked. So if you think about that for a minute, kids think everybody else is normal, and they're the odd person out. So connectivity is really, really important, making sure they're connected. Looking at our policies, like removing them from their extracurriculars if they're caught with a substance or under the influence, right? That may be the one connection they still had. And now we've severed that, sent them out in the community by themselves, suspended or whatever the situation may be. That may be doing more harm than good. So we need to look at alternatives for that kind of thing as well. Same thing with grades. If someone is struggling with a mental health issue, you may see their grades falling. And then they fall below that threshold and they're not allowed to play sports and they're not allowed to participate in an after-school curricular. So those are some of the things that we can do here. And on the preventative piece, making sure that they stay connected. All of the programs that we just heard about, that's wonderful because that is the opposite of and the best approach to treating addiction or preventing addiction is that connection. Montgomery Goes Purple was founded in April of last year through an idea with Judge Bernard on the courts. She and I were talking about a lot of different things, and she had this idea to really expand beyond the International Overdose Awareness Day we've been commemorating every year on August 31st, and move into a more year-round approach with more than just commemorating people that we've lost. Let's stop doing that. Let's save them instead of losing them and commemorating them. My son has lost almost every one of his childhood friends. I've been to too many funerals. I don't want to go to another one. So this is one of the things that we're doing right now are these forums, because even after the pandemic, we began to speak more about mental health, but we still weren't talking much about substance use prevention. And then we see this surge, if you will, of losses, overdoses by students, fatal and non-fatal. One is too many, right? One is too many. So talking about it, having these conversations with parents, making sure they know that they can get naloxone at any fire station in the county, that they can go to any police station to drop off unused meds, get them out of the house. Don't be the first place they have your student has access to medications. Keeping them locked up in a safe if you have to have them in the house, if you're taking them on an ongoing basis, those kinds of things. But also the Narcan training, because you never know when you're going to have a chance to save a life and whose life that will be or what they'll go on to do with their life. But if you don't react and aren't equipped to save them, we'll never know. So our partners include the State's Attorney's Office, talking about the Good Samaritan laws, so that our students know that you won't get in trouble if you call for help. You won't, right? And there's a bill in Annapolis right now that we're supporting to actually protect the person who overdosed as well. Believe it or not, that was left out of the original Good Samaritan law. So we want to make sure that people are protected and that they will call for help and not just leave somebody to die. The police, fire department, faith community, we invited everybody in. Some came sporadically, but everybody is really joining together with this because they see the need. And we did the celebration throughout September for recovery and a lot of events. And the rest of the year, even in September, we're really focused on the prevention piece and harm reduction, making sure that we get that information out.
Ms. Rivera-Oven?
I get emotional when I see Laura because this lady that you see here has an incredible fortitude. And unfortunately, our paths crossed many years ago when my sister and best friend, Judge Bernard, lost a child to opioid overdose. So this is very, very personal to me, and it has been ever since. And I have been to every event that you guys have held, and it never gets easy. And it gets worse, actually, every year to see more young people, and you question yourself, what is it as a community that we could have done to prevent this from happening, right? Like yourself, it breaks my heart every time I go to a funeral. It broke my heart when I went to the funeral of the young lady from Kennedy High School. And to see those young people kind of lost and just with the need to feel understood and who need help. We are in a very critical point in our community where young people are truly hurting. And again, I think this is something that we need hands on deck. I was honored to take part, at the forum at Clarksburg High School, my kids' high school. And we actually, printed over 1,000 flyers in Spanish and English and with the Up-County Hub. And we brought parents to this meeting, and we had, simultaneous interpretation with the headphones to make sure that no parent goes without information. Because right now, unfortunately, in the Latino community, we're seeing an increase of overdoses and death. And it's an education issue right now, where we need to make sure we're getting to these parents and to these young people that truly don't understand how vulnerable they are, and they don't even have to be addicted.
No.
It takes one pill, and it could be your last breath.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of education we can only do with partners like you, Laura, and Josh Bernard, and people who have walked the walk and who are passionate about making a difference. So I personally, I get to thank you from here publicly for all your work.
Thank you. And we are working to bridge that gap. We're gathering all the resources we can on the Montgomery Goes Purple website. We've posted both the English and Spanish flyers and translated. It's Google Translate. I do not speak Spanish. I wish I did. I took a year of French, but it's all gone too. But we're trying to get as many resources as we can on that page. We added a family and youth resource page, and adding in as many Spanish resources and translating what we can as quickly as we can, because we know there's a need in every community. This is not one community or one group or one school. This is everywhere in our country. People say, well, what's going on in Montgomery County? You're all this talk about fentanyl, because we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd rather talk about it and let people ask questions and tongues wag or whatever, whatever happens, than have another loss. So let's talk. I'm really, really glad that we have MCPS as a partnership. Dr. Kapunen, Stephanie Izzard, and Kyle Potter in their office have been amazing working with us and getting these forums out and getting information out. The notice that Dr. Kapunen put out in December about fentanyl was groundbreaking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
People don't talk about that.
Absolutely.
Shh, it's a dirty little secret. And when someone is ill with cancer or something like that, everybody coalesces around. When it's substance use disorder or mental health issue, it's quite the opposite. We need to talk about it. We need to use the right language to do it. That's a huge part of it. And we need to make that understood that this is not just this family. It is everybody, and you need to support them because you don't know what the future holds for you.
Well, so Laura, you've been around for quite some time as a parent, as an MCC PTA advocate and leader. I really do appreciate you. I did not know that you just started Montgomery Goes Purple last April. I thought it was been a couple of years, but really appreciate what you've done. So I was out of town. I wasn't able to attend the last forum. Can you say to me, or just to anybody watching, you asked earlier who's watching. There are millions of people watching our committee meeting. Right. No, but really, were there any questions that stood out to you during the time when you took questions from the parents? Like, what were the parents saying or asking? Because I heard there were 1,500, like close to 1,500 attendees, which is phenomenal. A lot of students were there. Can you give us an idea of what you heard or what parents or students feel like they need more of?
Yeah, they need more information. We had about 500 in person. We had another 1,000 online. We trained 260. We trained about 300 people in use of Narcan, and 260 left with kits. We cleaned them out. We've inadvertently created a run on Narcan in Montgomery County, which is fantastic for me. If I had my druthers, everybody would be trained in carrying. At the forum, most of the questions came from students. I think we had 2 that were parents. One parent was really desperately seeking help, trying to find that path.
Right.
I knew with my son I couldn't walk his path for him, but I could make darn sure there was one and that he could find it. And that is something we need to do a better job of, and that's why we have the resource page there. They want to know what resources are out there. They want to know also how do they start those conversations with their kids? When do they start those conversations with their kids? We're working with curriculum. I'm on the curriculum advisory committee for the health piece, health and PE. I would like to see that integrated more so that it becomes more of a conversation of, hey, people break their arms, people develop a substance use disorder, people get headaches, people normalize it, not in a way that makes it okay, but in a way that it's okay to ask for help if you need it, and it's okay to ask questions so that you don't step into that. And that's really what the students were asking about, like, what can we do? They had questions about the bathroom situations in their schools, a lot of concerns about that, use, sales, sharing in the bathrooms, lack of access to the bathrooms being the kind of go-to alternative, which is not great either. We have students going home at the end of the day who are running straight to the bathroom because they won't use them at school.
Yeah.
So trying to figure that piece out, how we do those sweeps, and I know those conversations are ongoing, that work is happening, but it may be that we need more administrative staff or security officers or something in the buildings that are able to do those constant walk-arounds and checking those, because sunshine's the best disinfectant. So if you have eyes on, then we can help curtail some of that. But the real piece is backing up even further into that prevention, having conversations with parents so that they know how to have those conversations with their students, and having conversations with students so that they know it's okay to talk to their parents or anybody else. Anybody. You reach out to somebody for help. There's a really good chance they're going to help you. And if they don't, then reach out to somebody else.
Yes. So I'm really glad Superintendent Dr. McKnight had the press conference where we had all of our partners come together to talk about what's going on, because what we do know is that as a school system, just by ourselves, we can't do it. I think it's really great that we're having the conversation. It makes it a little bit easier for parents to ask questions, right? To find out where they can get additional resources for students to. I thought it was great that State's Attorney John McCarthy mentioned the Good Samaritan law, right? Because we want to save lives, and we don't want our students to feel like they'll be penalized if they don't speak up. Right?
Exactly.
So it's a really good opportunity for us to have the conversations. I'm sure there are parents at home that are struggling, trying to figure out how to best support their students. And when I was growing up, and still to this day, schools are considered a safe haven. So parents quite naturally send their kids to school and think that it'll be all better, and we'll figure it out. But we need everyone's help. This is all hands on deck, as you said, and so looking forward to the next forum. It was up there a minute ago. It's going to be on February the 25th at Northwood High School. What was the time again? From 9?
The Coke trailer at 9 o'clock and the resource tables, the program begins at 9:30. Doing this one a little different in that we'll have simultaneous panels in English and in Spanish. Then there'll be also group conversations, and then there'll be student breakout rooms so they can have conversations that might be a little more specific to them, and they feel more comfortable maybe asking about how they can bring up the topic. If the parents aren't bringing it up, they can bring it up.
Absolutely.
And our student journalists, I have to give a shout out to them. They have been amazing in picking up this. The media's picked it up a lot too, mostly for the right reasons. Some looking for headlines, but if we're talking about it, we're talking about it. And I just make 2 requests: no syringes in their graphics, because that can trigger people, and using proper language. And I will talk to anybody.
Pete, remind us about the proper language.
Yes.
Not everybody knows. Ms. Yang, you have a question?
Yes, so thank you, Ms. Mitchell. I participated in your summer events. They are very helpful for me just to know what's out there, what services are out there. Now, thank you for speaking eloquently about removing barrier so everyone understand I'm worthy of help. and removing the stigma, right? And the careful choice of words for educating us, including me included, what are the words that will encourage the conversation and people seeking help. You said you have a call to our system, and we all need to look at this better. You talk about removing punitive measures when we discover substance issues. So for us, the challenge is how do we keep students accountable, but do the restorative piece instead of the punitive piece? That is really important work that we need to be engaged in. So my question is about the event on the 25th, because many of the people have gone to the Clarksburg event, and you highlighted a little bit of differences, some differences. I want the word to get out there, how even if maybe you have participated in the first one, this one might have some added information of value for people to attend. Can you speak a little bit more about
Sure,
that?
yeah. And our plan is to go in by area, not necessarily cluster, but the 5 clusters that are in an area, and move around the county, because not everybody has transportation to get to those, or it might not be the right day for them to attend. So we're hoping that that's going to be, this is a second opportunity for those who may have missed the first one, didn't know about it, whatever. But also that we do tweak that a little bit each time and try to figure out what is the best way to have those conversations. I think we were all a little surprised at the turnout at Clarksburg. Pleasantly surprised. There was a lot of conversation there. But it makes it a little challenging when you're trying to do Narcan training, for instance, for 300 people. It's a little challenging. Not everyone can see. So we're changing up some things. We'll be on the stage so that, because there were some comments in the back they couldn't see or hear and things like that. So, and we'll have, as I said, the breakout rooms. The students will have their own room. Parents will have their rooms in English and in Spanish. So we're hopeful that that little bit will be some change. And then I know there are lots of people in the county who are like, when's the next one? When can I come? Where is the video of this? Can I watch it? But that's not the same as being able to ask your questions.
Right.
So we really want to do that. And as far as the school participation, there is a diversion program that was developed called SUPRE. It's on the Be Well 65 page. And that is that if a high school student is caught with or under the influence of a substance for the first time in school or on school grounds, they can participate with a trusted adult in this program. And it's a program that has 4 weeks, 4 exercises that encourages those conversations. So I'm looking at where we might be able to, who we might be able to partner with to roll that out, because it was a central office thing that got pushed to the schools, but I don't think they really have the training to do that or the time. I mean, everybody is so stressed. So who can we partner with? Is it DHHS? Is it other community partners, Shepherd Pratt, somebody like that that can help us facilitate those for those that have that need? But also, backing up again to that prevention, how can we replicate those exercises that are in that program preventatively? How can we use that maybe in workshops to help facilitate those conversations between parents and students or guardians and students? So there's a lot of moving parts to this and a lot of ideas. My brain's like popcorn. Can't do it all. So we welcome all the help that we can get. But it's just anything and everything. It is sort of a spaghetti approach, but a lot of it is sticking, and we are making it work. And that's the reason we keep doing these and changing them up a little bit, is to make sure everyone has the opportunity and that we look for what works the best.
Sure. Thank you for that. And I do want to go back to a comment you made earlier when you referenced the bathrooms. And so I just want our community to know that if you are signed up for the text messages, one came out at 8:05 this morning that I received. It was on safety and security in our schools and how each of us has a role in that. And they specifically discussed the restrooms. And what people can expect, as well as you mentioned security and having security a little bit more frequently roam the hallways. And so if anyone is signed up for those text messages, then go into the section where maybe it's unknown sender. I don't know how you have it set up. And then you can also go on our website to get that information as well. So just wanted to let the community know that in reference to your question earlier, that has been answered and addressed, and everyone hopefully received that today. And I will now, and then also for the forum coming up, I want parents to know that they will have the ability to access resources. There will be a resource fair there. Yes. Our students, when they come, they can get student service learning hours. There will be an opportunity to get COVID-19 vaccinations, and we will have refreshments. That's correct. Yes. So please come. And Ms. Rivera-Oven, question?
Last thing I was going to ask you, Laura, is we were talking about having this forum at Kennedy High School. Because the community is asking for it, and the leaders in that community are asking for it. And it makes sense, honestly. And I know there was talk with HHS. And so to have the forum in Spanish and actually translate it into English for those who can, so do it a little bit backwards. So because this is a community that has been through a lot with this fentanyl issue. And one thing that you said that really resonated with me is that we need to get away from that thinking of we don't want to do certain things because they're going to bring a stigma to a certain population, or because if the community is asking for it, and if the community wants it, if the young people want it, we need to listen to them rather than listening the perceptions that could be, because we're not doing a service to anyone if we are in a state of denial, right? We need to face this and call it as it is, and we need to do everything we can to inform the community, give them the tools that they need in order for them to be proactive with their own kids and then their schools. So I don't know if you have heard anything about that event coming up. If not, I would check with staff or whoever for later to let me know if that, but I know that HHS was on board. I know you were on board. I know that the parents at Kennedy High School on board. I know the community's on board. I know the leadership's on board. So I hope that we're on board.
Yeah. It's tricky to try to find, none of our schools will hold, their auditoriums, none of them will hold the whole school, right? So when we saw the response at Clarksburg, we had to kind of reevaluate where we were going to do the next one and how often we were going to do them, if it was going to be able to stay as one per area, at least till we got throughout the county, and then start to do smaller ones. That's really our approach right now, is trying to reach as many people as possible and then kind of micro-focus a little bit more. So we're at Northwood next. Hopefully Gaithersburg area after that. So we're kind of, and then East County, we want to get everywhere. We don't want anybody left out, because addiction doesn't leave anybody out. It does not discriminate, doesn't care who you are, where you're from, what you look like, does not care. And so we don't either. We want to be everywhere all at once, but that's not possible. So we're trying to do the most that we can in every school. We're also Zooming into PTSA meetings. We're planning one for next week for the high schools, where we'll do kind of invite all the high school PTSAs in, get a overview of these forums and the issues and where the resources are and that kind of thing, so that we're reaching more people. That'll be on Zoom. And then continuing these forums, there's also the website. Anybody can reach me through that website. There's a contact form on there, montgomerygoespurple.org. And if you have an idea of something we need to be doing that we're not, please send it. I am very open. I'm not offended. So that is, it's just critical that we reach as many people as possible. And so I have heard rumblings about one. I thought it was Wheaton, but if it's Kennedy, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me where it is. DHHS has also partnered with us to do student groups within the school during the day that are working like with the Botvin life skills and kind of these are ones that students signed up for themselves. Nobody sent them, nobody singled them out, nobody signed them up. We set up tables at lunchtime. We tell them what we have. We're showing them that we have the flyers about fentanyl, the one pill can kill, all of those things. And we talk to them about what we're doing, and they sign themselves up, either for themselves or to help a friend. It's usually for a friend. So I don't care why they're there, but knowing that they can access that. And I'm working on, I'm offering parent groups as well, just discussion time. You can come, no pressure, no agenda, come and ask your questions. That's on Zoom, so I will add that to the website as well. The one thing that I will mention, one more thing, and that is 988 that launched in July 16th of last year. And you can call, text, or chat. In the county, Everymind is our partner for receiving those calls. The text numbers, or calls, contacts, I guess, are way up. And that's mostly students. The chat is up as well, not so much the calls. They were a little worried they were going to be inundated. But it hasn't really been advertised as much as possible. Some people still don't even know about it. So 988 is the crisis line, suicide hotline, crisis line, life crisis, any of those things that you have, even substance use. So I think that we could do a little bit better job of getting that out, putting it on our websites, making that available. One thing I've suggested is putting that and the Safe Schools Maryland and some other emergency contact information on the wallpaper of the Chromebooks, so that when students open their Chromebook, they see it, with an opt-out for anybody that might trigger. But if they'll see it 99 days and just ignore it and never need it, but that 100th day may be the time they need something, and they know where to find it.
Thank you. We really appreciate all that you've done and all that you will continue to do to help our students and our families and our community overall. Okay.
I appreciate the partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, we will now turn to Ms. Winkleman. Been patient, and we want to hear from you and the work that you've done with our school system.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. It's really been amazing to hear from so many partners that you have at MCPS. I mean, it really takes a village, and coming here, you really see that a small piece of that village coming. So I'm Sarah Winkleman. I'm the Director of Education Programs and Services at JCRC, as you said, and I appreciate you inviting us here. I'll just give a brief. JCRC, sort of as an organization, is the public-facing community organization that represents all the synagogues and Jewish organizations within the whole greater Washington area. We're really like a chief government affairs for state and local issues, and we work and advocate on a wide variety of issues that help build a stronger community. And my role is really a new role. So this position started about 4 years ago as it really became an increasing need for sort of work in the education in the K through 12 space. So really how I describe my job is I work with all the stakeholders in the public schools in the DMV. So I don't just work with MCPS, I work with other school districts as well, although I will talk mostly today about what I do here. And really, like, my job is to help the schools, the systems understand who is the Jewish community, who are Jewish students today, like what needs may they have that might differ a little from other groups, and also help students and families when they're trying to understand, like, when things come into play that have to do with who they are as a Jewish student and how they can navigate the system. And I do all these amazing proactive programs that I want to touch on, but the reality is, as you know, with all the increased hate and the increased anti-Semitism, it's been really hard for our families in MCPS. And so I feel like, unfortunately, Greg and I are texting on a daily basis about issues. I mean, I do feel, there's so many people wanting to do the right thing in the system, but there's these really hard issues that are not, simple, and I'm not sure that everything being in the Washington Post is particularly helpful to us trying to fight it. But we really work closely with MCPS to help respond in real time to incidents that are happening in MCPS. And besides Greg, I've worked closely with Chris Cram, with Peter Moran, with Brian Stockton. So we're working sort of as a team trying to help make a difference. I do have to say, partly because I spent half my weekend dealing with an issue at Westbrook Elementary School, that if we can figure out how to communicate better to our constituents, I wouldn't have to spend hours with parents and families that are worried. They're worried to send their kids to school. Okay, so I feel, so I just feel like, that, and it's hard, and I don't want to suggest it's simple, but, Councilman Friedson has been in touch with us because he's worried, and I just feel like we're all spending hours about this one incident at this one school because the communication wasn't what it should be. Although I don't really know the whole situation yet, so I may, maybe it really does warrant all these conversations. So a lot of our work, so I want to just try and explain some of the work. So we work with individual schools in responding to incidents. So we'll help a principal, for example, if they are trying to write a letter to the community about an anti-Semitic incident, we are happy to sort of help work with them to frame it in a way that it's going to land well for Jewish families in their school. We help them talk about possible options for follow-up that could be helpful. And obviously we're working with lots of different areas within MCPS to do that. It's not like we're doing it in isolation, but working with restorative justice, working with Chris Cram or whoever on communications, working with sort of the different components. Sometimes it's as simple as trying to identify if something actually is anti-Semitic. So, sometimes I've gotten a text that said, is this actually anti-Semitic? And then we have to discuss it. It's not so, everyone knows that a Nazi symbol of a swastika is a problem. But it's also, by the way, complicated because that's a positive symbol for the Hindu community. So how do we how do we even, if we try to refer to it as a Nazi symbol, not as a swastika? Again, all these things are, not as simple as we'd like them to be. So those are sort of some of the things we do sort of reactive. Proactive, Everett mentioned the student-to-student program. I actually brought flyers if anyone's interested. I was like, I'm meeting in person. I'll bring some flyers. So exciting. So student-to-student, I have 95 students in the greater Washington area, Jewish students that are juniors and seniors in high school that go into public schools to talk about what Judaism is. It's sort of like an anti-bias, anti-bigotry, cultural competency program. Right now, at this moment, while we're meeting here, they're at Wooten High School. I think there's 8 presentations today for a class that was just reading the book Elie Wiesel's Night. And I think a lot of times teachers feel like they don't want to just show Judaism as the Holocaust, but they want to show that it's alive and well, and here's Jewish kids today. So they do touch on Holocaust, anti-Semitism, things that have happened to their family, but they also really just talk about the joys and beauty of it as well. So it's really amazing. We also bring Holocaust survivors and their descendants into schools. Many times it's around International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Many times it's when they're learning about World War II and the Holocaust. As we know, many of in the past month, I've lost 3 of my survivor speakers have passed away. We've done a training for their children to tell their parents, share their parents' experience. We also have grandchildren that tell their grandparents. So those are beautiful ways that we've been bringing into, actually, I think everyone coincidentally, every school mentioned in the Washington Post article reached out to me about a Holocaust speaker coming to their school. So we're in the process of setting some of those up too. We also have created a training program. We work closely with the Anti-Defamation League, who also does a lot of amazing work in the schools, and there's No Place for Hate in a lot of schools. So we developed a training program, really a cultural competency for staff, for administrators, teachers around Judaism, around anti-Semitism, around anti-Zionism. There's just so much nuance that people don't realize. So we've done that in a few different places. Right now we're in conversation to do it with restorative justice. And given a number of issues that have happened around restorative justice in these schools, I think they're very interested in this cultural competency for their staff. So we're hopefully going to bring it there, and it's available for other schools. In other districts, I brought it in just for a team of the school on Professional Development Day, so it can be done in a different way. We're really excited about the town halls. I think we pinned down dates for the town halls. We're doing with Dr. McKnight for the Jewish community in March. So we have found that is a very effective tool that we've used in other. We did do one with Dr. Smith a while back, but I think for them to hear from Dr. McKnight is really important, and for them to also have a chance to say their concerns, and we think it can be a really positive thing for everybody. So we're excited about that. So we've consulted with the central office. I mean, the truth is, the whole reason we started working with central office around the hate bias protocols, that was like, I think my last meeting before the pandemic. We had, it's when we had decided the things here in this building. So we've worked on that. I work with the curriculum team on curriculum. I mean, this is primarily social studies and English around things that are relevant to the Jewish community. I mean, we did that. I mean, Tracy Oliver Gary is like amazing, and she threw together that webinar. I mean, that webinar in like 2 seconds, and we had 550 screens on to listen to a Holocaust survivor the week of International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Amazing, amazing. Every year in the summer, we send out a mailing to our entire, like our 20,000 plus mailing list about resources in each of the 10 school districts that we serve to help families understand, like, what do they need to know if they have an issue with their kid? What are the resources out there? So we do that as well. We also ally with other minority communities in MCPS to help raise everyone's voices. We were the first Jewish organization to be on the Black and Brown Coalition. My colleague, Rabbi Abby Shorowski, who many of you have worked with, she sits on the steering committee for the anti-racist audit. She helps, she also serves on the faith-based advisory committee. I think I have that name correct. We also have helped with the calendar on the needs of the Jewish constituents. So I feel like I covered a lot of material. I tried to keep it short, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do my colleagues have any questions?
Not really a question, but it's really a comment that thank you for the range of things that you do and how you are involved with our school community. So we are here, my colleagues and I and our school system is concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism, and we want to be better partners with you, with ADL, so that we can figure out ways. So there are things, pieces, like you say, communication and sharing experiences, curriculum, all different ways we can address. I do want to highlight your student-to-student program, and I think one of the things is we have a very diverse community. Sometimes in our own immediate bubble, we might not have, even though it's very diverse, but in our immediate bubble, we might not have direct contact with people of different backgrounds. So to have students, peers, to share their experiences, to give a platform to talk about it, that we can address hate, address bias much more effectively this way. So thank you so much for your work.
I wrote down a number of things that you do to help support our school system, and it's a lot. Are you just one? Like, to just is there only just you? This is great work. And then I had another question that just escaped me really fast. Oh, you talked about, I guess, some professional development or some supports that you provide to our teachers. Is that just a service that you provide? Like, is there a charge that we have to? Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So our services we offer free because we feel like that's our mission is, you know, as an organization. We work very collaboratively as a team in terms of the work. I am the primary person on the education front, but Gila Franklin Siegel, the associate director, she's in there with me. Work very closely with her. Rabbi Abby Shorowski fills in. My colleague Adam Odester is helping with the student presentations today while I'm here. So we kind of work as a team. Okay. But hopefully, we're actually hoping, well, I'm hoping we're going to expand our staff because there is a lot to be done.
Okay. Now, are teachers, are they reaching out to you, or is there another way? How do they know to connect with you?
Well, we don't really have a very good system at the moment. So we had a training that we did in the summer with the equity staff that with the goal of the training originally was that would be the starting place, and then we'd see where we could go from there. And it didn't, for a number of reasons, it was the worst training I've ever done. I mean, the group was not responsive to the training in the way we have in many other places. So I'm not sure that that's going to be, I mean, I'm meeting with Anthony Alston to figure out if we can still work through this, like, because we obviously tweak the program all the time to be successful. and for whatever reason, it was not the most successful endeavor. People weren't prepared properly. It didn't. So, but he's committed to helping us figure out how to move it forward. We're working. I just met with I'm blanking on her name, of Restorative Justice, and we're talking about bringing it into their staff. And I have not brought it. I mean, obviously we're limited in the time, but we could do. Like we just, in Fairfax, for example, we just went into they have 2 days of professional development. We brought it in for 2 hours for one particular school that had some anti-Semitic incidences and wanted a way to deal with it. But then another school is like, can we piggyback and come to your session? So they brought a number of teachers and principals from that school as well. So that was sort of the way we could collaboratively work it. Obviously, we do have a limited amount we could do, but we could do more than we are doing in MCPS.
Okay, that was helpful. All right, Ms. Grace Rivera.
Just want to say thank you for the work that you do. It's needed more than ever, I think, which is really sad, right? It's a sad day in a sense that we have to even talk about this even as early as in elementary school that we're having these incidents, right? So we know there's not just the kids, but there's right. Is that connection with the parents. And so for me, the more we can do this at an early age, the more we can expose. I mean, we live in the most diverse county, right, in the United States. So we have the tools, we have folks like yourselves and so on. So going back to my colleague, Ms. Evans, about making sure that our staff has this kind of training. And I just had a thought, not that I want to put extra stuff on Dr. McKnight's, desk or anything, but sometimes I think we need to walk the walk and talk the talk. And I think this might be a good thing for all of us to take a training, including the staff with central office, right? Because then you know what to expect, and then you can actually recommend it and encourage it. Because it's important. Absolutely. We are a village, and we want to make sure that every child that walks through our schools feels welcome and loved, and not unsure, insecure, or not safe. I mean, the whole definition of a school is supposed to be a safe and welcoming place for all. So I don't know how we can make that happen. It's just a suggestion from a new member. I don't know if I violated any protocols or.
No, but it was interesting. I mean, if I can just share one story, is that I did speak to, I'm blanking on her name, but she's a relatively new principal, and she's the first Southeast Asian principal, so now you can identify her. She's terrific, but she called up because she didn't really know that much about anti-Semitism, and she was having an issue in her school, and we had this amazing conversation, because some days I feel like I'm pushing the boulder up the hill and then it just keeps rolling back at me, and sometimes you think, I really helped her sort of gain insight to why a 1-inch swastika on a desk that might not seem like such a big deal with all the hate in the world can be really triggering for Jewish families and Jewish parents, that there's a lot of intergenerational trauma from thousands of years of anti-Semitism that makes Jewish parents say, there's an anti-Semitism, there's a Nazi symbol on the desk, not swastika, there's a Nazi symbol on the desk, I need to pack my bags and make sure my passport's okay. And I think that kind of trauma is an awareness and understanding of where people are coming from is really helpful when you're trying to respond. So she was really appreciative of the conversation, and I was like, okay, some days we just might go, so I think, thank you. I thank you for wanting to be educated, for wanting the team to be educated. I think it's really important.
My incredible mentors in my life was Dr. David Satinsky and the late Carla Satinsky. And they pretty much were my second set of parents. And they had Christmas with us, and we had Passover with them. And I learned so much from that experience, and I make sure that my kids learn and we're exposed to that. So it starts sometimes at home, but anything that we can do, there's, in the Latino community, where in Bolivia, there's not a Jewish community. So for me, it was a whole new learning about, and my first bar mitzvah, I was in heaven. I was like, I want this. How can I have this? So I just think, that right now, this is when the adults need to be the example for everybody else. And so I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to say thank you again. And anything that we can do from here to support you and what you do, please let us know.
Thank you.
So the board is always able to take professional development and learn, and so we can always work with Lori Christina to do whatever we need to do to be where we need to be and to be better educated as well. So, Mr. Davis, did you have comments?
I don't want to prolong the agenda, but thank you, Ms. Evans. Just a couple of themes, and actually before Ms. Winkleman, thank you to her. I would add, not to go down a long list again of partners, but Montgomery College has also supported us. I think back to my days, even as school-based administrator, as a principal, Portraits of Life was a great support as well, where she mentioned would bring in the Holocaust survivors, which unfortunately some of them have to Zoom in now due to health issues, or as we said, we continue to lose them, unfortunately, but they were just a great partnership as well. I wanted to elevate, and just hopefully some of the themes that you heard from both of our presenters, try to summarize in threes, and just wanted to make sure that they came across, that our community partners also have community partners. I think we heard that from both of them. It's critical. We talk about those 3 C's of collaboration, communication, coordination. It's so critical. Trusted individuals that our families go to our community partners, in addition to what you said, Ms. Evans, about schools being safe havens for our families. I would extend that also to our community partners, so thank you all for that. As well as the proactive versus the reactive, really working on the proactive end. So I just thank them for elevating each of those 3 themes, which hopefully came across.
Absolutely it did. No, thank you. This is a great meeting, great conversation, and I should be ashamed that I don't know the date of the next meeting. I know I can't find that really quickly, but look online. The board's webpage, we put up our meeting dates, but this was a great conversation, how we support our families through our community partnerships. And with that, I will say we are adjourned. It is 12:14. Thank you all for a great meeting and a great discussion. With that, say good afternoon.
Thank you.